The theater was already loud, but the moment the boy walked out, something strange happened. The noise didn't fade, it froze. People didn't clap right away. They stared. A skinny Filipino boy, barely 13, wearing worn-out shoes and a shirt too big for his body, stood alone under the massive AGT lights. He held an old acoustic guitar like it was the only thing in the world keeping him standing. And before anyone knew his name, before he sang a single note, you could feel it, this audition was going to hurt in a way that felt good. Before we continue, if stories like this move your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps us share these powerful moments with the world. When Simon Cowell asked him his name, the boy's voice trembled. "My name is Miguel," he said softly. He explained he came from a small village in the Philippines, where electricity was unreliable and music was something you felt more than heard. His father had been a fisherman who never returned from the sea during a storm. His mother worked 3 jobs, cleaning houses, selling street food, doing anything she could so Miguel and his younger sister could eat. The guitar he held wasn't bought, it was rescued from a trash pile behind a closed bar. Missing strings, cracked wood, but somehow, still alive. Simon raised an eyebrow when Miguel said he would sing Hotel California. It was a legendary song. A dangerous choice. Even the crowd murmured nervously. Simon leaned forward and said, "That's a very big song." "Are you sure?" Miguel nodded. "This song saved me," he replied. The lights dimmed. Miguel closed his eyes. The first note came out rough, raw, almost broken. A few people shifted in their seats. But then something happened. His voice didn't try to imitate the original. It carried pain, hunger, nights without food, and dreams that refused to die. Each word sounded like it had been lived, not memorized. By the second verse, the room was silent. By the chorus, people were holding their breath. He sang like someone who had nothing left to lose. As the guitar cried under his fingers, flashbacks played in the audience's minds without being shown on screen. Miguel practicing under streetlights, singing to his sister to drown out her hunger, humming melodies while waves crashed where his father disappeared. His voice cracked on one note, and instead of hiding it, he let it break completely. That was the moment the first judge wiped away tears. The crowd began reacting before the song even ended. Someone screamed. Another stood up. By the final guitar solo, people were crying openly. When Miguel whispered the final line, his hands were shaking, his eyes still closed, like he was afraid to look up and realize it was all a dream. Silence. Then the room exploded. The audience jumped to their feet, screaming, clapping, crying. The judges stood. One of them couldn't even speak. Another kept shaking their head, whispering, "Oh my God." Miguel looked confused, like he didn't understand why people were making noise. He bowed his head slightly, clutching the guitar tighter. Simon didn't speak right away. He stood up slowly. The room quieted again. "Miguel," Simon said, his voice unusually soft, "that was not a cover. That was a confession." He paused, swallowing hard. "I've heard this song 1,000 times. I have never felt it like that." Miguel's eyes filled with tears. Simon continued, "You didn't come here to win a competition. You came here to remind us why music matters." Then Simon looked at the crowd, looked at the other judges, and without another word, he smashed the golden buzzer. Gold rained down like sunlight. Miguel collapsed to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably. The crowd screamed even louder. Judges rushed the stage, hugging him, lifting him up. In that moment, he wasn't poor, he wasn't invisible, he wasn't forgotten. He was seen. Backstage later, Miguel spoke quietly into the camera. He said if he won, he wanted to build a small music school in his village so kids like him wouldn't have to choose between hunger and dreams. He smiled shyly and added, "I just want my mother to rest." That audition didn't just change Miguel's life. It changed everyone who watched it. Because it reminded us that talent doesn't come from comfort, it comes from survival. Dreams don't grow in perfect places. Sometimes, they grow in the darkest corners and sing their way into the light. If this story touched you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so more voices like Miguel's can be heard. Because somewhere right now, another child is holding a broken guitar, waiting for the world to listen. The moment the camera zoomed in on the stage, something felt different, like the air itself was holding its breath. The audience was loud, excited, restless, but the second the boy stepped into the spotlight, the noise slowly dissolved into a strange, heavy silence. He was small for his age, thin shoulders slightly hunched, clutching an old acoustic guitar as if it were a shield. His shoes were worn, the soles almost smooth, and his jeans looked like they had lived many lives before reaching this stage. No dramatic entrance. No confidence-filled smile. Just a poor Filipino boy standing alone in front of millions, with nothing but a fragile dream. Before this story pulls you deeper, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this deserve to be shared, and your support helps us bring more powerful journeys to light. Simon Cowell leaned forward, eyes sharp but curious. "What's your name?" he asked. "I'm Miguel," the boy replied, his voice soft, almost swallowed by the vastness of the theater. "How old are you, Miguel?" 13, sir." "And where are you from?" "A small village near the sea, in the Philippines." Simon nodded. "And why are you here?" Miguel hesitated. The silence stretched. "Because singing is the only thing that never left me," he said quietly. That answer alone stirred something in the room. Miguel explained that his father had been a fisherman. When Miguel was 8, his father went out during a storm and never came back. The sea returned the boat, broken and empty, but not the man. From that day, everything changed. His mother worked endlessly, cleaning houses in the daytime and cooking street food at night. Miguel helped by carrying buckets of water, selling snacks, doing whatever a child could do to keep the family afloat. School was irregular. Hunger was not. Music, he said, came from an old radio his neighbor threw away. Late at night, when the village slept, Miguel would listen to foreign songs he didn't fully understand but deeply felt. One song stayed with him more than any other, Hotel California. He didn't know why. He just knew that every time it played, the pain in his chest felt less lonely. When Simon asked what he would sing, and Miguel said the title, a wave of whispers rushed through the crowd. That song was legendary. Dangerous. Many had failed trying to sing it. Simon raised an eyebrow. "That's a very big song," he said. "Why that one?" Miguel looked down at his guitar. "Because it sounds like being trapped," he said. "And also like wanting to escape." The lights dimmed. Miguel took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and began. The first note wasn't perfect. It was raw, slightly shaky, like a door creaking open. A few people in the audience shifted. But then his voice settled, not into polish, but into truth. He didn't sing like a trained performer. He sang like someone telling a story they had lived too many times. As the verses unfolded, something invisible moved through the room. His accent colored the words differently, giving the song a new soul. Each lyric carried weight, like it had been carried across oceans. His fingers pressed the guitar strings with quiet desperation, and the instrument responded, crying softly under his touch. By the second verse, the judges weren't taking notes anymore. One judge's eyes glistened. Another had clasped their hands tightly, as if afraid to break the moment. The crowd leaned forward as one body. Miguel's voice cracked during the line about mirrors on the ceiling. Instead of correcting it, he let it break fully. That crack wasn't a mistake, it was hunger, loss, and nights spent singing to an empty room so his sister wouldn't cry. It was his father's absence. His mother's exhaustion. His own fear of becoming invisible. As he sang, images seemed to form in everyone's minds. A barefoot boy practicing under flickering streetlights. A child humming melodies to drown out the sound of waves that took his father away. A mother listening quietly from the doorway, pretending not to cry. Halfway through the song, the audience forgot they were watching a competition. They weren't thinking about votes or judges or prizes. They were inside Miguel's world. When he reached the guitar solo, he closed his eyes tighter, like he was somewhere else entirely. His fingers moved instinctively, imperfect but honest. The notes weren't flashy. They were aching. Each one felt like a question sent into the dark. By now, people were crying openly. A woman in the front row covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Someone shouted, "Go on." Another screamed his name. Miguel reached the final verse. His voice softened, almost a whisper. The theater was so quiet you could hear people breathing. When he sang the final line, his hands were shaking, his shoulders trembling. The last note faded into silence. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the room exploded. The audience leapt to their feet. Screams, applause, sobs filled the air. It was chaos, beautiful and overwhelming. Miguel opened his eyes, startled, like someone waking from a dream. He looked around, confused, unsure if the noise was for him. Tears welled up as he bowed his head, gripping the guitar like it might disappear. The judges stood. One wiped tears away without shame. Another shook their head, whispering, "That was unreal." Simon Cowell didn't speak immediately. He stood slowly, hands on the desk, eyes fixed on Miguel. The crowd quieted, sensing something important. "Miguel," Simon said, his voice unusually gentle, "that was one of the bravest performances I've ever seen on this stage." He paused. "You didn't try to impress us. You told us who you are." Miguel nodded, tears falling freely now. Simon continued, "You come from nothing, yet you gave us everything." He looked around the theater, then back at the boy. "I think moments like this are the reason this show exists." Then, without warning, Simon slammed his hand on the golden buzzer. Gold erupted from above, raining down like sunlight. The crowd screamed louder than ever. Miguel dropped to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably, his guitar slipping from his hands. Judges rushed the stage, lifting him up, hugging him, surrounding him in warmth he had never known. In that moment, Miguel wasn't poor. He wasn't forgotten. He wasn't alone. Backstage, his mother watched on a small screen, her hands shaking as she cried. When the camera found her, she whispered, "Salamat, thank you," over and over. In interviews later, Miguel spoke softly. He said he didn't come to be famous. He came because he wanted his sister to believe dreams were real. He wanted his mother to rest. He wanted kids like him to know their voices mattered, even if they came from broken places. As the weeks passed, Miguel's story spread across the world. People didn't just share the video, they shared the feeling. His performance reminded everyone that talent isn't born in comfort. It's forged in survival. That sometimes the most powerful voices come from the quietest corners of the world. And long after the gold was swept away, the echo of his voice remained. If this story moved you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Because somewhere right now, another child is holding a broken guitar, singing into the dark, hoping someone will listen.